Good morning. We're talking about the ITB, the iliotibial band. We're going to do a little practice today. So this is the ITB, this white, yummy piece of tissue. And what I want you to get is how it attaches up here at your hips. It's actually a big old tendon that is attaching to your glutes and your TFL, and then it crosses the knee. But you see that it's this big old tendon here, yeah? And so it's distinct from muscle tissue. So when we feel all sorts of icky stuff through here, I would postulate it's not actually really about the IT band, that we're actually looking more at what's going on through the hip, which then begs the question, why are the hips responding the way they are so that the IT band is responding the way that it is? So today's practice is really about exploring your body to discover the relationships in your body that then have your pelvis responding the way it does, so the IT band responds the way that it does. So this is going to be a discovery session. We're not going to roll out the IT band one little bit. Even though we're using a roller and a ball, it's not going on the IT band. Okay, we'll also play around with a little bit of the feet. We'll play around with a bit with the breath. And let's start to explore, because the IT band is a very fascinating part of the body. And it can absolutely and 100% be resolved. So those of you who are runners out there, you might really like this practice. But you do need to enjoy exploring. All right, here we go. Let's come on back to the mat. Grab hold of your ball to start. And let's begin. So we're going to take the ball underneath the hip and we're going to roll. Now, for some of you, wrists might be a bit of an issue, and this might just be too much. So if that's the case, come onto your back and then take the ball underneath your hips this way. And just find some of the points that are there and you can work in that space. Okay, I'm going to come up to my hands though. You can also do this standing and just use the wall behind and roll out those areas there. But I find that being on the floor like this can sometimes just be generally easier overall. So here you are, and you're going to notice that I've got both feet on the floor. And so the orientation of my leg bone and the hip socket is what it is. Now I'm going to take the leg bone up into flexion and rotation. Now that starts to expose other tissue that we can then enjoy. Yeah, and then come right onto the outside of your hip. And just play around there, yeah? Lovely, good. And then come on down and let's go to the other side. So again, you can be lying on your back. If you're just joining me now, you can lie on your back. I love to use balls as an awareness tool. Yes, you are getting some tissue release and self-massage work, but I prefer to use them as an awareness technique because they let me know what's going on in my hips when I might not have otherwise been totally aware of them. I mean, I might know that there's some stuff, but it really pinpoints areas that I might not have been clued into. So it becomes really interesting to explore, so that then I might get some symptom relief, but then I want to retrain the area, and I want to retrain the conditions that have led to my hip being what it is, or my IT band being what it is. And then what you start to really get is you start to really understand the whispers. So when I was in my 20s, I had a lot of IT band issues. I don't have IT band issues anymore. You know why? Because I recognize the conditions that lead to the IT band issues becoming an issue. And so I can catch some of that stuff sooner. So when my body starts to get more fatigued, when it starts to get too overloaded, when I can kind of feel if there's an inching towards an overtraining position, then I can back off and I can do things for myself that don't lead me in that direction anymore. Okay, let's come onto our backs. Okay, and we're just going to help do a little bit of retraining. So we're going to take that leg to the sky and just rotate your leg bone in the hip socket. So have that leg bone, it's the femur in the hip socket, rotate that sucker, and then take the ankle onto the knee. So you're really working with helping that leg bone do rotation. You notice that I'm not talking muscles right now because I'm talking about the segment that we're actually doing the moving of. And then as that leg bone moves away from you, just make sure the front of that hip is not pistoning that leg away. It's coming from the back of your hip. It's not coming from your back. It's not coming from your SI joint. Okay? And then bring that ankle off. Other leg comes up. Rotate that leg bone. Take it down onto the opposite knee and start to move that leg. So it's all about moving that leg bone in the hip socket. Really getting a feel of those legs. Keeping everything else super easy, right? You don't need to use your rib cage or your jaw or your tongue or your eyes, your hands, your pinky finger, your abdomen or your ribs. None of that's required. Not even your toes are needed right now. Just watch, and then what's cool, I might sound like a total nerd, but what's cool is to notice where you are wanting to compensate. Because that's very revealing in terms of why situations, including ITB band issues, persist. Yeah? Okay, so now from here, you're going to take your legs like this. You're going to take the block between your ankles like this, and you're going to press. Now, you don't need one of these green guys. You can use a cork or a wooden block. This is like one orientation. Just have your feet hip width apart, and then place that block there, and then press and release. Yeah? So you're pressing the heels in and relaxing. Your hamstrings are not being involved. You might feel this a little bit in your butt. But again, you're not trying to squeeze your bum to do the movement. You're pressing your heels to do the movement. You're driving this from your heels. And of course, if this is an issue for your knees and you need to put something underneath them, then please do that. And then we're going to move from here into a lunge. Okay, now that pelvis is level and we're going to come straight forward. Yeah? Straight forward. So pay attention. The movement here is leg and pelvis, knee, knee. Those are the articulating joints. So we don't need to brace up through here. And you might be wondering, okay, what's this to do with the IT band? Well, let's just take a look at how you're moving here, yeah? Because issues in and around our hips we'll get limited in and around our hips because of what we're not doing as the way the joints are meant to move in our body. So you're discovering where and how you're moving through your hips. Just like we'll play around with some rib and shoulder issue, and you're going to discover some things about how you're moving through your shoulder blades and your ribs. And how those parts move or don't move will impact then what happens through your pelvis and how you move through there, which can then lead into what feels like tension and tightness through that IT band. So we're just playing around with noticing how you're moving through here, what the relationship is between your ribs and your pelvis, what's going on through the ribs and armpits and shoulders, and what you're doing up through here. It's so easy to turn any of these things, whether it's what you're following here with me or any other trainer, so easy to turn these into exercises and just kind of doing the exercise as opposed to actually feeling what's going on in your body. Yeah? So come up into standing now. And in standing, I want you just to come into a side bend and feel the weight through both of your feet. So even though we're leaning over to one side, I want you to feel one side, the other side, like you're not coming right off of that foot. So you're still feeling some weight in through the side you're moving away from. And allow yourself to feel whatever you feel in and around the outer hip. This is an area I love to call the hub of congestion, right up and through the lower part of the torso and into the top of the hip, because we have lats and obliques and abductors and other abdominal muscles, and there's lots of stuff that comes in through here. If you follow Tom Meyer's work and think about even acupuncture meridians, because a lot of the myofascial meridians follow the lines of the acupuncture meridians, and you see just how there's a confluence of points in this particular area. So if we tend to be someone who slumps into our pelvis, and I don't mean this, I mean more like a turtle's head, like your spring becomes less springy through the day and you sort of sink into your pelvis. It's very easy to get really caught up and stuck in through this area. And then that can result in some things around your hips, and that can result in IT band issues. That's one of the trajectories. All right, lovely. Okay, now we're gonna take the legs wide. I want you just to check, it's Monday morning doing this video. I just want you to check here what's going on through your leg bones and your pelvis. What happened through the weekend for you? Just notice what's going on there. If you're a runner, maybe you did a long run on the weekend, right? And so just kind of get a notice of what's going on with those legs. Maybe you went for a long ride and you're still feeling some of the work from that, right? Okay, so now legs are wide. We're going to take this into warrior two. So this leg is going to rotate. The pelvis is going to come with, right? So the pelvis is staying level, but it's coming with that front leg. You might need to take your legs wider as you lower yourself down, yeah? But the pelvis has stayed level the whole time. Okay, now what I'm going to have you do this time, now that we've got the position, is you're going to take the hand on the outside of the thigh, bend the knee slightly, press the thigh into the hand. So if I do it this way, what it's going to look like is the leg is pressing back into the hand. So you'll see a change of position of my leg and my foot because what I'm asking to have happen at the hip. And that's going to help get you a little more connected to the outer hip, but also more connected to from the hip to the foot overall, right? Because IT band issues are not isolated to the IT band as you get there, is that it also is related to what's going on through the knee and the foot. So hands here and just press that and hold that. So what's being required here is there's some stuff in through this area of our body that's actually being asked to release. Yes, even while we're in standing, but not like release like relax, relax, relax. But in order for that leg to move towards the wall, there's some stuff here that needs to release, right? Muscles need to contract, muscles need to release. But yes, we're also in standing. So watch that you're not holding up through your ribs and your abdomen to be here, that you're really in your legs and your pelvis. Yeah? And then notice 3 points in the bottom of your feet, the ball of the foot, the base of the pinky toe, and the center of the heel. Yeah? Good. And now we're going to take a little side bend. Okay? Something might be felt in and around here. I mean, you could feel stuff anywhere really within your body, but I want you to play around more with what's going on in through this area and just feel there. Maybe feel up in your ribs. Some of the biomechanical stuff that can go a little askew lower down has a really strong relationship to what's going on up into the ribs. So you might get an adjustment from your physio or from your chiropractor, and then when you start to notice how that feels, then come back to your practice and notice what the parts are and how they are related. Then you can start to work on retraining those patterns so that you don't pull those vertebral segments, out of alignment. Okay? Good. Hand comes to the outside of the thigh. Press that thigh in. But now the pelvis is staying level. And just be here. Relax your toes. Relax your feet. Right? Be as easy as you can up through here. And then you're going to start just to move to the side. And then this way. Easy breath. And just notice, just keep noticing what you're noticing. Just keep noticing what you're noticing. Be as open and as curious as you can about how your body is moving. Notice how your overall fatigue levels are, maybe a level of weariness. It's been a big few months for our world and for people. So just notice where you're at with it all, right? We can't negate what's going on in our world and how we're feeling in our body. Yeah? Okay, good. Now let's bring that leg back. We're going to come back to the wall now, and let's take a block. You can use a cork block for this. I'm just going to move my mat there. Okay, so we're going to come here against the wall. But not leaning against the wall, but the distance that your block, however wide your block is. So if I use a wooden block, then it would be the distance away from the wooden block, okay? I'm going to use this foam block. And we're going to come back into warrior two, but this time we're going to hold the block at the wall with our leg. Yeah. Now, if you're having troubles holding that block, then what I want you to do is to take this back leg out and move your body a little bit more like this, and you can hold it like that. If you feel like you're getting it and you're starting to relax with it, then you can start to bring yourself back. But to hold the block, you need to allow some release in through here. You need to allow some strength in through your back hip. Yeah, just hold. And then you can also add this side bend. Now, I'm going to show something to you that if you lose the coordination here, that's what's going to happen. So you want, that's the training. So you're holding the block, and the block's not at the knee. The block's about mid-thigh. Yeah. Pelvis is level. Yeah. And then you get to play. Now, there's phases to this. So you can be here and just be in this position. You can also start to bring your arms up, and you might notice that starts to happen as you bring the arms up, because as you bring other body parts into this position, you add complexity and load. Then you might want to add taking yourself into side bends. But again, if this is too much load, that's going to happen, right? And you wouldn't even need, now I'm moving the leg purposefully away from the wall, but that might not even happen. You may just lose it. So don't worry. It's just letting you know that there's some stuff going on in terms of coordination and maybe some strength and then some endurance. But if you practice it, and you practice it with wisdom and consistency, then you'll improve. Okay? So here's the other side. So it's, again, I want to emphasize, it's not up here in your bum. It's not down here at the knee. It's mid-thigh. Yeah. And you can be right here, and this is where you stay. You don't have to add the side bending. You can just be here. You can be here. You can be here. And just feel yourself in the bottoms of your feet, center of the heel, base of your pinky toe. And then as this becomes easier, you can take your stance wider and wider and deeper and deeper. Cool. Okay, and then bring that back up. All right, perfect. Now notice, you're back in standing. Notice what it is that you feel. Okay, what happens through your pelvis here? What are you noticing? Now this is going to take some retraining, this work with your IT bands. It's going to take a bit of retraining. So we're going to take a ball into the foot. I'm going to explain more about that. So it's not like one and done, right? And even, like I've had people say to me that, well, I went out for a run and I had no problem with my IT band, I must be healed. And the answer is, okay, you're definitely on your way. And I don't want to burst anyone's bubble, but this is a dynamic thing. The movement patterns that contribute to IT bands being a little sticky, you just need to pay attention to them. And I want to be careful because I don't mean what I just said to be deflating at all. It's more that as like a lot of runners, particularly, or cyclists, when their IT bands feel a lot better, then they automatically add more hills or distance or like mileage. And just to be conscientious that when you improve your structural integrity and the tissue suppleness, you've improved it for where you're at. And so just to be mindful as you add the load, because part of what helped you and me when I was in my 20s get into that space of having IT band issues had to do with, in part, the structural integrity and the load that you were adding. Yeah. And so then if you can apply some more conscientiousness and mindfulness to it and really paying attention to your overall levels of fatigue or weariness or overwork, and sometimes those can be difficult to pay attention to. Okay, let that come down. Because if you're at all If you're at all motivated and you like long distance, you're really good at pushing aside symptoms. And so it requires you to really pay attention. So the bottom line is what I'm saying is IT band issues can absolutely be cleared up. Absolutely. And you've really got to pay attention. So the mindset that brought you into the issue is not the mindset that brings you out of the issue. But you can certainly add more load if you're paying attention and curious about the symptoms in your body. Okay? Okay, and now come off of that. The ball. Good. And then just come back to standing and now notice what you feel. Good. All right, we're going to come down towards the floor, bring in the roller. We're going to do a roller twist. And the idea is for you to notice what's going on between your ribs and your pelvis, because a lot of issues, both for runners and cyclists, but particularly for runners, is the level or ability to rotate through the torso. So we're here and taking ourselves into a twist. And this is one of these ones that is very, very surprising for people when they practice it, just how much it helps them move faster when they run and when they cycle, and how it brings a lot more efficiency and effortless effort. And if you're not a runner, or you're not a cyclist, but you love to go stand-up paddleboarding, or you swim, this one's an obvious one too. Okay, so what you're noticing is I'm not dropping to the floor. I'm keeping my plane and I'm just rotating around that plane. Yeah, okay. Let's go the other side. Whoops. Hold on to that roller and take that through. So you'll see that a lot of what I'm showing you is not unfamiliar if you've been following me for a while. But so much of our process is one of practice. And it's not just about finding variations and making variety with the process. It's really about improving your overall movement. Yeah? I was training a group in my certification program, coming onto your back. We're going to come into a twist. And someone was talking about how she didn't want her clients to get bored. I'm like, well then, if you don't want them to get bored, help them get better. Bring that knee in. We don't need more variety. We actually need results. And getting variety, so this leg's coming across the body and into a twist. If you want to go to a fitness class, then that's variety. If you want results and actually improving your body relationship so that you feel better in your body consistently and sustainably, then go for that result. There you go. Easy, easy, easy breathing. And just pay attention to your ribs and your pelvis and your breath. And then coming on back. Good. And then other side. Leg comes up. Bring it across your body. The leg bone moves in the pelvis. Pelvis doesn't move. Then, as you lift, then the pelvis moves. But watch that you're not leveraging a whole bunch with the hand on that leg. You want this to be generated more from your abdomen than you pulling your leg and making an arm movement, right? So if my hand's on my leg, it's acting as a guide. I'm not heaving it across, over leveraging with the arm and the hand. I'm allowing the movement to be through the abdomen, and the abdomen is generating the movement of that pelvis coming around. Super easy. Great. And then coming on back. Good. And then bringing the legs down. Now you'll notice we're going to be in Shavasana here, and I want you just to feel your body here. You'll notice that I purposefully did not roll out your IT bands, because where I really wanted to play is the relationships between your legs and your pelvis, and your torso and your pelvis. And last week we played around with some hip movement and some hip hovering and some feet. So go back to those ones as well, because you'll get a lot from those videos too. And of course, if you want a little more help, more specific to your situation, just send us a note through our system and we can book you in for some series. But there's a lot of good stuff through these videos I've done that you can do it yourself and really explore what's going on in your body. Because that's how you're going to resolve the issue. Allow yourself to be aware. Be curious about what's going on between your feet and your knees and your pelvis. How your leg bones move in your pelvis. Notice when the springiness in your body becomes less springy. And know that your IT band issues can resolve. Whether you're 20, whether you're 50. The key is for you to be aware. And then to act on that awareness and start putting together the dots. Yeah. Lovely. Bend your knees, take another breath, and roll on over, and let's come on up into sitting. I'm going to come up into a kneeling position. If you are sitting cross-legged, do sit on a block. And then just be here and breathe. And connect in with your inhale and your exhale. And through this week, we're going to spend more time with your feet and your hips and their distant friend, the rib cage, to see if we can bring in that much more suppleness between these parts. All the while, connecting your whole state of being with your breath. Your connection to stillness. Yeah? You don't have to be resigned to what you got. Things can change. Bringing your hands together. And breathe in with ease. And out with gratitude. Namaste. So join me this week if you want to play around with your feet, hips, and their distant cousin, the rib cage. Let's have some fun. Okay, see you tomorrow.